Welcome back to the Healthy Business Podcast. I'm Ty King from American Business Engine, and with me as always,
Jessica Tolliver with Cam Collaborative.
hey, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Didn't hit your head today.
I did not hit my head today.
It's amazing.
Yes.
We made changes to the studio.
Yes. You can't actually see them though.
Yeah, nobody over there can see them. Yeah.
But they're behind the scenes that make everything else flow.
Yeah. So I'll take photos whenever we have this all cleaned up and then post them on the socials.
Yes,
But, yeah.
I do have things strung about.
Well, yeah. We're not done yet. So, continuous growing job. So how's the week, man? Good?
It's been a blur. So everyone I know that helps me with do anything is out of town except for myself. So I'm here doing it all, and I have no internet all week.
Yeah. And that's always fun. When I don't know, well, the type of person I am, where I believe I have to do everything myself, and I have trouble delegating. And then when there's nobody to delegate to, that's when I can figure out, oh, you can't do everything. People are doing stuff.
Well, I know that people help. They need breaks as well. My husband, he's been working really hard for his job, and I'm like, go into the woods,
Go be free.
Dig in the dirt,
Yeah, dig in the dirt.
do those things. And so he's had a really good week. He needed a little bit of a break. But I'm at home with the kids and the dogs and the business and everything, pulling my hair out with no internet, so I can't get anything done. It's crazy. And they won't troubleshoot your internet unless you're on the phone.
Okay.
But I can't be on the phone when I'm working. And they keep telling me to go online. I'm like, can't go online because I don't have internet. And technically my phone's tied into my internet, so I can't actually call from that phone. So they can't call me. I have to call them from my cell phone. And it's just been a nightmare.
Oh, my God. That sounds awful.
I'll live. Like, I don't think anyone's going to die. But
Yeah.
I keep telling my clients, I'm like, I'll bill you. Because I can't process payments. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
So that's been fun.
So I was in a movie this week.
I know. I didn't have a chance to talk
So
to you.
I definitely wanted to talk about this week because it's a different side of a different business. You know, part of the fun I get to have in being a web designer itself. You know what I mean? Is that I get to take on different clients and get I get the good parts of their careers, everybody else's stuff. Everything else have to stick around and figure out how you're going to pay bills next month. So I've had, actors and, musicians, and we've had, spine and pain people, that type of stuff. But anyways, a huge, large gambit of people across different industries. And so it's fun to get a fun little, smattering of everything. So I grew up in just a little nowhere town in Arkansas, back and forth between there and then Tyler, Texas. And so when we were in Arkansas, the places that we lived here were always just off in the woods. There was nobody to communicate with.
2 blocks south or west or east.
Well, the only people we really interacted with was our family on the phone, talking to our family that was still living in Dallas and Tyler, right? So that was the only interactions we had with other humans. We finally went to public school in the 4th grade.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
You were way Little House on the Prairie then, weren't you?
Yes. Yeah. And even then, quickly found out it didn't fit in. Everybody else was wearing camo jackets and the hunter orange and all that stuff, and that's never been me. But anyway, so a lot of my childhood and learning how people interact with each other has been through movies, right? And I was also very determined to get rid of that Southern accent, and so I used to practice all the time. I would listen to movies, listen to the lines, the way they delivered it, and then I would pause and I would try to repeat it over and over and over and over and over, just to get the accents that I wanted.
Okay, yeah. So do you do accents?
No.
Okay,
The way you hear me now is a result of all that.
Okay.
I don't know what happens. I don't know, what you even call this. No, but I am terrible when it comes to foreign accents, and so people tell me quickly to stop. That's offensive. So anyways, grew up loving movies, and of course, I'm a huge comics nerd and all that stuff, and so Marvel's really blown up with all their movies and all that stuff. Anyway, so I've always been very interested in how movies are made, all the way from Jurassic Park. I used to watch all the DVD extras and how do they make the animatronics and the actors and the scripts, and how do they film on set. Used to watch documentaries on Steven Spielberg and everything. It's very interesting. It's a completely different world, So I got the opportunity because one of our clients was looking for some extras on set for one of his films, and I was like, okay, I want to do this because that was one of my goals this year. Is I want to see it live in person. You know what I mean? And my goal was just to be somebody behind the scenes, just I don't know, I'll hold a light for you or something. You know what I mean?
That's a union job, but yeah.
Yeah, sure.
It's called a grip.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whatever. I'll grab some coffee for you. Be your errand boy. But I just wanted to see that process from behind the scenes, and he was like, "Hey, there's actually a role for extra, and that's going to be a coach, or not a coach, but a referee. Would you be willing to do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And he's like, "Okay, we'll pay you too." And I was like, "Okay, I wasn't expecting that either." So yeah, they were filming in Little Rock. It was an LA-based film company, and it's sort of it was an inspirational film about a girl who is in high school and she joins the boys football team. And so a lot of the scenes were on the field. I mean, they were filmed at one of the high schools here in Little Rock. And so I was like, okay, I'm a ref. I'm going to be out there in the field. Probably going to blow a whistle, tell some kids get off the field. You know what I mean? That was it. Nope. That wasn't it at all. My whole scene was that I was there at 11:30. I was supposed to come in at 11:30 and film my scene. It didn't happen. Then they had lunch. And then wait. Raining. Oh, can't go in the field. Oh, playing the waiting game for a very long time. 8 hours. 8 hours later, I'm finally in the scene, and it's where she's out in the parking lot signing signing her autograph on people's footballs and stuff like that. And then I'm just somebody that walks behind in the background. Finally got in scene. If it makes it, I'll be very, very, very surprised if it ever makes it into the final cut of the movie. But it was fun seeing the whole experience, live and in person. Because they have us go into the huge, we were using their field house as like a base of operations where everybody was just sort of congregating and eating lunch and all that stuff, and so all their actors came in there, which is fun. So I was amazed at several different parts of this. It's a whole ecosystem, and like you can tell the people that have been in it for a while because they're so used to this stuff, and like this is everyday life. You know what I mean? Anything else is just weird. So. One person, I was really amazed that one person's complete job right now, when it makes sense past the pandemic, is they're supposed to guard you against COVID. That was their job. And she was the nicest human being I've ever met in my life. But she would come in and she would have you, swab your nose and then take the COVID test and then put a mask on. But she had like 50 boxes in an array in front of her on a table in all different designs, colors, textures. She'd be like, pick whatever makes you happy. So I was like, okay. So I picked a mask and then went over there, sat by one of the lockers until the COVID test cleared. And she made to come around and make sure everybody's sanitizing their hands and, wear your mask if you haven't been cleared for COVID yet. And like just making sure everything was wiped down. That was her whole job, was to protect people from COVID on the film set. Very interesting. So the casting second casting director was the one that was like emailing me and organizing all the cast there. Anyways, it was me and one other girl. She was supposed to be an extra, I don't know, side staff. I don't even know what the heck that is. I don't know football. You know what I mean? I was like, this is definitely going to be acting because I don't know anything about the sport of football. I know the shape. That's about it. She had been in a movie the previous week because apparently Arkansas is picking up in our film industry. Thank God, finally, right? So Georgia's had it nailed down tight for a while. Arkansas is primed you can create whatever set you want to here. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're basically we're prime real estate for that. The whole experience of getting to see how the crew that was like doing the lighting, because one of the scenes I got to go out there and actually be on the film set. There was 4 different sets that we did. So there was one in the field, there was one inside, there was one in the parking lot on this one side, and then one on the other side of the parking lot. And so there's like a scene where the girl gets in the car, and the parents are sitting up front, and she sort of gets walked over there by one of the other boys, and then gets in the car, shuts it. I can't hear what's being said because they're all mic'd up inside the car. You know what I mean? But they were fighting against the light. And so like the daylight was dying out, the sun was going down, and of course we were, anywhere you are here in Little Rock, you're going to hear an 18-wheeler going down the highway, and they're honking their horns and stuff. So they were fighting against all that. But finally, when the sun did go down, then they brought out these huge lights. But you could tell that the crew, like that was, that's their job. This is their business. They started their own business, and they get hired out by these film companies to come in and do the lighting and all that stuff. And that's the one thing they do is handle the lighting. It's pretty incredible that there was a whole industry just built around that. I mean, just what little we've done in here, I mean, it makes complete sense, right? But you're talking about sets that have to move around. I would hate to have to move this podcast around, from set to set to set.
Well, it would be set up a lot differently.
It would, yeah. To be mobile. But yeah, they had these huge screens and then diffuser lights, and like they were just gigantic. And then they kept like looking at buildings around them, and like if there was a building that had like a shimmer or something like that, they'd go over there and block it with another screen. Or they when it was a night scene, which is where I walked through the parking lot, which is weird. Why is Ref just walking? But anyway, they tested the light and the light balance, everything, by putting a silver fork in the parking lot on the ground, and then they stepped back and then they measured the scene with the camera and all that stuff, just to see if it shined too much. And then that was pretty interesting to me. But yeah, the whole system and the whole experience was pretty fun. I'd say my only I guess the worst part of it was just the wait, what I mean? And we were, oh god, so she's on a team with a boys football team, and so a lot of high school boys that actually play football were waiting in there too, and man, they were just gross. You know what I mean? Like not throwing away any of the trash, just leaving stuff everywhere. Every time they changed costumes, they would just leave it scattered everywhere, leaving it for the other cast and crew to come behind them and pick up. And the whole time I'm just sitting there and I'm listening to them. They're like explaining life to each other, and I'm like, oh my god, this is awful. But it always circles. I thought it was funny. They always circle back to, well, my mom does this, and this is why. My dad does this, and this is why I have to. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, your whole dependency on life is based on around your parents, but you guys got life figured out. It is true. But
I was actually, interestingly enough, having that conversation with my daughter on the way in today. We were talking about, she's 12, and she said she's starting to really knock on the door of that puberty, adolescent attitude coming, and we joke with our kids about it, that it's coming. And so we were talking this morning, and I told her that she's something about me knowing something. I'm like, well, I do know some things. And there's going to be one day when you think that you're all grown up and you know all the things, and I am dumb, and that's okay. Yeah. And it's coming. She's like, I wouldn't think that. I'm like, yes, you will. And you'll be wrong. But you will. You're going to think that you know it all, and I don't. And then about 10 years after that, you'll be like, man, wish I'd listened. So just FYI, mark my words.
No, yeah, for sure. No, I remember stuff even my teachers and stuff said in high school, and it was like later on, I was like, whatever.
Yeah, well, as the young person, I remember thinking, these people, they don't understand. They're so old. They're out of touch. And I was saying that to my daughter. She's like, I already say those things. I'm like, well, you're going to, and it's going to get worse. Yeah. And we encourage honesty, so we're like, I don't get mad when they say things like that. It's like, okay, it is what it is. I'm not here to be your best friend. I'm here to teach you how to be a responsible human. So you can hate me. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
When you're 30, you'll love me and respect me and be like, man, thank you so much.
Different relationship with your parents when you get older. Yeah, it's so crazy.
No, but to your point, yes, they think they know everything.
For sure. Yes. So yeah, I think one of the other interesting things was that so I had to fill out a W-9 form. So W-9. And then there was another form I had to fill out that was for the Arkansas Film Commission. And so what that does is it allows that production company, that's why they were filming in Arkansas, it allows them to get reimbursed for the majority of the pay that they give to the actors as long as they live in Arkansas.
They get a reimbursement they get a credit for using Arkansas-based, and they also actually are required to use a certain number. Like, in order to come in, and there's a lot of things. So you come in, you don't just come to a state and film. You have to get permission. You get permission from where you're going. And you also, because you're a business coming in from out of town, there's a lot of tax issues that you have to come up with. And the reason we're starting to get more is they've kind of massaged the taxes on that and made it more attractive for film industries to come in here. Because what other states will do, be like, all right, well, we'll waive the state taxes on this because you're bringing all this industry, or we're doing whatever. So I don't know the exact rules, but I'm sure that there is a minimum amount of Arkansans they must employ.
Probably.
And then reimbursement or credits or some sort for possibly above that or for that. I mean, the film industry coming into Little Rock, Arkansas, their benefit is to the state. So the state will actually make it worth their while to utilize our state and our locals.
Yeah, for sure. And Georgia's been doing it for years and years. That's
Louisiana as well. I mean, that's one of the
Yeah.
things that they keep saying is you go just south of Louisiana, people are filming, and then because they can't come into Arkansas because their taxes weren't attractive to them. So hopefully it sounds like they've been changed that up a little bit.
I hope so. I mean, we've been behind on the.
Well, I mean, we've got so much open space that you could really turn into just about any part of the planet. Like you want desolate, we got desolate. We'll find you a quarry. You want to feel like you're on the moon? Here you go. You want rivers and lakes, and I mean lakes that look like oceans.
Yeah.
In some places, we got you covered. You want trees, we got trees. You want city, we got city.
Forest or like even a clearing where if you need to build a huge sound stage, we have that too. You know what I mean?
So. Yeah, that would be a great thing for Arkansas to dip into because it doesn't require more influx of humans as far as building more houses, building more things like that. But it does bring a lot of money into the area and then a lot of prestige to the state. So I'd like to see more of that as well.
It does, for sure. So I think it was interesting that, there's these people that have their own businesses like the lighting crew, the sound crew, and all that stuff. And so they just sort of, they depend on these other companies to come in from other states to film so that they can hire them so that they can get it's like it's a whole different system of capitalism and making money
and politics
so not what I'm used to at all, which is just, hey, you're a client, okay, we're going to give you these services and you pay us.
Not that
nice and simple.
So my mother was very into animal protection, and she was, I can't remember who she was doing, PETA probably, I guess. She was on one of their committees, and anytime there's an animal on scene in a movie, there has to be representative between some organizations, and I think PETA was one of them, and she was the representative. So every time there's an animal there being filmed, someone has to be present that represents the organization. It doesn't have to be there for the entire film, but anytime the animal's there, just to protect people from beating it, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah, so she would do that sometime on a film, so she would go sit and just make sure that the animals were...
That makes so much more sense. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm the type of person where I will sit through the credits, and I will just, see all the different people that worked on this, you know what I mean, all the different titles and everything it has. But usually, there are a lot of movies at the end where it says something about PETA, and it has their logo on it, and I didn't know why. That makes perfect sense.
And even if the animal never makes it into the movie, they'll still get the credit for being there.
Okay.
But legit, if there's somebody walking a dog behind you, that is in the movie, that animal is protected. They have to have animal representation.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
Well,
back
it tells
to
me that they've had problems in the past.
Well, there was the whole, remember the whole orangutan thing with Burt Reynolds and what was it, Any Way to Make It Loose, or...
I know this movie, yes.
Yes, yeah. Well, they weren't kind of the orangutan, apparently.
They weren't nice to the orangutan.
Yeah. And I don't know exactly the whole story, but I remember that was a big to-do in the people in the circles my mother traveled in, so...
Jeez. I'm about to look up the story now. How mean is Burt Reynolds to an orangutan?
I don't know if it was him. I think it was,
I know,
trainers or something, but...
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, lots of interesting about animals. The fun fact about Eddie Murphy, he was filming, I think it was Dr. Dolittle 2, the one with the lion, and he wouldn't be in the same room with the lion. They had to film all of that separately because he was afraid of the lion.
Yeah. No, can't blame him with some animals. Yep, I'm good.
Not me. I'd be like, look, can I nap with him? He's so cute and fuzzy. Yeah. But anyways, back to lighting, and then we'll make a point here in a minute.
Yes.
But back to lighting, one of the things that if you're interested in lighting is to look at old films, old black and white films, because lighting was an art then.
Yeah.
And they would be able to convey an entire mood, but just by where they put the shadows. So that's where my first ability to see the differences in lighting and shading was when I was started looking at that, and then I started digging into it, and then I realized it was a whole art and learned the beauty of it, and so I could actually watch a movie and enjoy the cinematography, even if the movie's kind of cheesy.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. Sometimes you can get better story. I did that with Morbius. Morbius was a terrible story, but I don't know if you've heard of it. Anyways. Good lighting. I like the lighting.
Yes, lighting.
Lighting is good.
So if you look at some of our earlier podcasts when we had just the overhead lights that were awful, that was great. And then you notice that we got more lights, it got better, and then now we're up to 6 additional lights, and that's better. And I have plans to put at least one more, maybe 2 more in here. One for the couch, and then another one facing here. based on where I'm going to hang it, I should be able to hang 2.
Yeah.
So we can, it's all, in order to have normal color, it has to be almost completely washed out in video.
For sure. Nice. It's going to be good.
It'll be fun.
So I guess behind the scenes of the studio itself, because this is kind of another arm of the business, of what you're doing in your CAM Collaborative. So I guess we'll take photos when everything is cleaned up and everything is ready in here. But so you have moved the engineer. They have a booth now.
It used to be an engineer shelf. Now it's an engineer booth.
Yeah, that's right. It used to be underneath this table, right? So you have to squat down and try to log in. And
for the record, this is all being done and on a budget with cash. And the reason I specify that is I have not gone into debt over any of the purchases.
You never should. Yeah.
Yeah. So some people do, and that's fine. Get a business, whatever. But so I see we just need one more here.
Yeah.
You see that? Yeah.
This has been like an experimental business. This isn't something that's
I know, and it's so much fun.
If I open up a bread shop, I know people are going to come and eat bread. You know what I mean? If you open up a podcast studio,
you don't know what's going to happen.
People in Arkansas are kind of leery about it. They're like, I don't know, I'm kind of interested. I don't want to go see it. But it has picked up.
Yes, and therefore we're upgrading ourselves. Got ourselves another nice little booth, extra lights.
Yes.
I got a couch. I love this couch.
So the couch idea, that was another thing I wanted to bring up because I really like this idea of having a place. My
description?
Yeah, your description of when Snoop Dogg goes to the studio to record, you always got him on the couch smoking weed or whatever. He's got his buds over there taking photos, and so that's what you always see. But we have a couch here that perfectly fits the area of that wall.
Now you know why you had to measure the wall?
Yeah, I do know. And we're in the process of getting a sign made for the behind it, to show CAM Collaborative or CAM Studios, and so people can take photos from there instead of the ones that if you've ever paid attention to our socials or anybody that's recorded in the studio, usually everybody takes pictures right here in front of the green screen. You can't see it; you see buildings right here right now, but there's a green screen behind us. And it was kind of just a green screen sheet that we had hung, and it was kind of wrinkly. And
we're slowly working on it.
We got most of the wrinkles out, and now it's pretty much flat against the wall. It looks really nice.
Baby steps. All right, we're going to do a quick little selfie, then you're going to splice it in.
Okay.
So turn this around. So then smile.
There it
is. We have our selfie that I'll send to you, and you can put so people can see the green screen.
There you go.
Making more work for you.
Yeah, no,
Aren't I nice?
So rather than just giving them a green screen taking photos in front of, now we're going to have a full sign and they can actually sit on the couch and it looks like a nice little studio.
Yeah, and if Snoop Dogg ever comes, he'll have some place to smoke weed. Actually, it's no
whatever
smoking
you
building,
want to rent this out for, you know what I mean? It reminds me of that podcast I told you about that was on the VR headset. I remember you can go in there, but it was like some podcast about it was about weed, about different weeds that they could smoke, but they were online, and like one of the props that they had was a joint that they could smoke while they're recording. So your little avatar is smoking a joint.
That's funny.
Crazy. Anyways, I think this is going to be a lucrative little business eventually. Whenever it catches on, I think more and more people are using this, and actually,
It's been a lot of fun. It's been definitely interesting to be able to apply what I've learned in marketing and what I've learned in photography, and kind of get it all together. It's just been a nice little adventure.
It has. You fell and hit your head.
Yes.
On the door.
My
and you were
face.
hanging the green screen.
Yes.
Hit your face. You unplugged some cords with your face.
I did. I survived, and there's no bruise.
Yeah.
But it's bruised deep. Like everything here is bruised because I hit it just about like that, and there was actually a little red mark here for a long time. I have really strong capillaries, so they don't burst. I don't bruise.
Okay.
I mean, if I bruise, I got a good walloping.
It's a very unique power you have.
It gets me no sympathy.
Yeah.
So everyone else on the planet would have been like a black eye. They'd be kind of like lopsided. Their head might have been crushed. Need some stitches. Not me.
Okay.
Not me. I'm just like, it hurts.
You fell? Oh, you're fine. You're fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah. So I learned to just smile through the pain then, because no one cares anyway.
Yeah, for sure. So we haven't been electrocuted yet. That's one thing we haven't done.
No, I've done really well with making sure that we're following all of the codes that we're supposed to follow, keeping things that need to go off on the switch, keeping things that don't need to go off not on the switch, getting stuff easy to deal with. But I think that bringing the sound booth off the table on the floor and into a hided area will make it much easier for people.
Yeah. For sure.
Hopefully. Oh, I also got something interesting.
What's up?
I got carpet tiles. I need them for something else, and I thought if I cut them perfectly here, then it'll be matte, but it won't move.
Oh.
It's a theory. We'll see.
Like you're going to glue the carpet tiles to this?
Mm-hmm. Instead of having the
That's a good idea.
what's this thing called? Tablecloth.
Sure.
See, when you have shiny things, they don't record well. So we had to cover the shiny things, but I don't like it. This isn't right. So,
No, it is kind of bothersome every time you sit down here.
But anyways, so I guess the takeaway for your business is that it's, no matter how great your business is, it always has to be evolving. Did I talk to you? No, I wasn't talking about that. So to bring it really far back, so everyone asks about the Little Rock Club that used to be on the 30th floor.
Okay.
And my response is, it closed, COVID, blah, blah, blah. But the general consensus is that basically they opened up, had a great menu in 1982 and never changed it. So they were doing they were charging what a country club would charge for membership, and then your Friday dinner was fried chicken buffet.
Okay.
The point to that is,
people wanted something else. What did they want?
Yeah. Do you want to go spend a bunch of money?
I
do you consider that a
but
prestigious?
People in the South love their freaking fried chicken. And
No,
stuff.
yeah, they do, but they don't want to admit it in front of their fancy friends. When you
okay, I see what
it
you're
was
saying.
a country club, and
It's
you
a
had
fancy menu. It needs to be upgraded. Yes. Okay.
So they were trying to attract people that had money and wanted to be fancy and wanted to do fancy things, and they'd be like,
here's some KFC.
Right, and they just refused or had the inability to move with the times. So they didn't upgrade to having more of like a digital menu option or some more modern cuisine or getting anything that would have done. So they just weeded themselves out by not making changes. So always trying to look for ways to improve without compromising the core is important to a successful business.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting. And now nothing's up there. Ghosts. 30th floor ghosts.
There's no ghosts on the 30th floor. That's just ridiculous. They're in the basement.
I noticed there is a 13th floor in this building, right? That's interesting. A lot of buildings don't have a 13th floor.
Older buildings.
Yeah.
That was a thing for a while, and sometimes, and I don't know all of when exactly it changed, but sometimes there was not a 13th floor. They would build a small 13th floor and then skip it, or they would just not name it 13, skip it, and go right to 14, even though it technically was the third. So there was a lot of things that they did, but that's like New York buildings, really old buildings.
Okay. Well, it was the same way in Hendrix when I was in the dorms there, and they skipped over the 13th floor.
Just the thing that they did.
But they built a little small. It was like a little space.
They had to some of them had to acknowledge the floor, like 13. No one's going there. 14.
Yeah.
Because just
bad luck numbers, yada yada yada.
Superstitions.
Yeah, superstitions. What our country's based on. Anyway, so yeah, that was a fun experience, and the studio's growing.
And I want to be in a movie next time you get a chance to do that. Like, do you need some obnoxious old fat lady? Sign me up.
They asked me if I wanted to do it again today, and I was like, I can't because, I'm just not going to be able to sit there for that long and not do my business. You know what I mean? Because I've got
1 day is fine, but with your business, 2 days in a week.
Yeah. I was like, my business partner's about ready to kill me because I'm not available for 8 hours. So you got stuff to actually do. You know what I mean? I was like, it kind of hurts my business when it was fun, though. I enjoyed it, and I really appreciated everyone that was there and part of it and invited me out there, and it was a fun experience. But I'll definitely take that knowledge with me and hopefully apply it to something like this, to the podcast.
Or at least a better understanding. Seeing how it is. One of the things that people think about on social media and just in general is everything you see, you think about it as being. I think it's called mirroring.
Yeah.
So I look at the world based on a mirror of myself.
Yeah.
So I think, I would never steal that, so why would anybody steal that?
Right.
Or I would never do something, so no one else would ever do something. So you apply a lot of your own understandings about things to other people. So that can, by changing your worldview, then you then have a greater worldview to be able to apply to other situations so that you can be more empathetic to your clients and their needs to run their business.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yep, I was different, getting a different perspective, from there. Absolutely. And it was kind of nice, and I guess like humbling, I guess, to be in a place where I am a completely unknown. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because in Little Rock and North Little Rock, it's the town of Arkansas, like you said, but like especially so with Little Rock and North Little Rock and Central Arkansas. Like if you're make it to a certain level in business, or you get so connected, eventually you start running into all the same people and they all know you. So like
You definitely get out of that circle for a little bit.
it was good. Yeah.
That's
So I
awesome,
went in
yeah.
there, and then like I got to actually meet some of the main actors that were there, like the ones who had actually done big budget stuff before. Like one of them was in Guardians of the Galaxy. Another one was in Lovecraft Country, and another one was in Supergirl and Pretty Little Liars and all kinds of stuff. And so you could tell that they like their demeanor and attitude and stuff like that. Like they were very nice people, but like it was very different than what I'm used to here. And to them, it's like, oh, we're on a movie set. I'm the star, okay?
Well, they're also at work. They're
Without
also
me, this movie doesn't work. It's like.
But I mean, to that point, that they're supposed to be that
Exactly.
person. They, when you go into a boardroom,
Yeah.
the CEO isn't just hanging out chatting with somebody. They come
Sure.
in, they put their CEO hat on, and they do
Right.
the CEO thing, and that's who they're supposed to be. They put that persona out there. They do the things that have to be done. So an actor has to come in. They got to stay in whatever it is that mode they need to be, and able to channel their character, work their lines, handle staff, things like that. I was watching Crossroads, which is a CMT presentation. They would take an older from the past artist and compare them with the new upcoming artist, and they would collaborate for a little music show. It was really interesting. And one time they had on Leanne Rimes, and at that time she was actually the older artist in this particular thing. They paired her with a up and coming, I think it was a jazz girl. I can't remember her name. But anyways, I remember watching that, and I remember Leanne Rimes when she was 3 singing songs, and watching her grow up and do this. And she was on stage and she did something and she was singing her song and she looked, but without even missing a beat. And I just happened to notice that she puts her hand behind her and cued the band. So they knew when she was going to finish her note, and they knew when to stop, and it was so effortless.
Yeah.
And then that's when I realized it's not just getting on stage and singing. It's not karaoke.
Yeah.
They have. I know that's dumb. You're a musician, so you know this. But someone who's not a musician had to be exposed to that idea that she's up there and she's performing. She's not acting like kids act in front of you. She's doing a job. So she has to make sure she's communicating with her people and making sure everything happens properly. They got to be watching for her cues. It's not just a jam session.
Yeah.
It can be, but a professional also does that, which I just thought that was really interesting when that aha came to me.
Yeah.
People doing their jobs like that, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So it kind of has everybody else is doing a job around it and trying to form it. Yeah, with the movie, it was like interesting to me because like they, the actors were, they were not doing a lot of the heavy lifting. You know what I mean? It was just a lot of, acting is not easy. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I was watching like the actual director and the second director and then the casting person and the costume. Like, man, they were sweating, just working their asses off, making sure that everything happened and working on the fly because the daylight was dying and because we can't get this to work, or somebody forgot to move a truck, and so now we got to get that out of the scene. And
well, that goes back to delegating.
Yeah.
If you're, let's just say, you're the main actor and you're doing this show, do you want to have your attention drawn away from you channeling your character, remembering your lines, and acting in the scene? Do you want to have to be also worried about the lighting and worrying about the truck, and worrying about the noise, and worrying about to make sure all these other things are going? So delegating, we talked about earlier when we said we suck at, comes down to being able to find those people that specialize in their lighting, specialize in their handling of COVID, specialize in whatever it is that they're specializing in, and then they stay in their lane, and everything comes together and makes a nice cohesive outcome. And that's what running a small business is like. That's
cause the ones that are actually running it are the ones that are not being seen because like the director and the producers and everything who are actually the ones that are putting on this movie, like the actors are just hired entertainers, but they will get most of the accolades if this movie does well because of their performance, and not because the crew worked their ass off to make this thing actually work, you know what I mean, and put them in place.
But they're not the biggest component of making the movie work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty interesting seeing that, and I'm like, okay. Fine. And like the props, we weren't allowed to have our iPhones or watches or anything like that on scene because it was a time when Blackberries were around, and so they had prop Blackberry phones, and thought that was that was interesting. But yeah, if there's a scene where like the scene where the girl was going to the car, being walked by the boy, and then like there was some time in between, if they would do it like cut, let's try that again, reset, and then everybody resets back to their spot, but then they have to fight the light and readjust something, and then they start walking out again. Then it was somebody's job to catch them before they got started if something was out of place. And so, like, one time, the boy didn't have his sports bag over his shoulder like he was supposed to. Mm-hmm. And so she stopped everything. Oh, God, and came out there and chased
One of
him
the
down.
things early on in movies, I'm like, how do they not know they were carrying a bag? That's the only thing. It's because they go out of order. They're constantly redoing. They'll stop. They'll start. They may run out of light. Can't finish that scene. Got to do it again tomorrow. Yeah.
That's why, so I definitely have a way more empathy for the movies where it's like, do you ever see like a conversation between two people in a room, and then it cuts over to the other person, then it cuts back to the other person, and like a chair that was in the background is no longer there anymore,
or the clock's at the wrong time? Or,
yeah. So it's like how do they not catch that? You know what I mean? But then I see this in person, and I'm like, oh, okay, I completely get it. Let's just go with it. You know what I mean? Give them a break at some point. Well, we were both getting blown up. Little Rock Regional. Interesting. Anyways, I guess we need to close this one out.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to this?
No, I think we brought it back to on point at the end, though.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. There we go. All right. If you're a video watcher, you can catch this on all of your podcast catching platforms. You can also see this as a video on YouTube if you search for the Healthy Business Podcast. You can find us on all the socials or Patreon, the website. Please like, subscribe.
Share, comment.
Yeah. Do the things. Yeah. All right. Okay, you want to say bye?
I do. That's like my thing. I say hello and I say goodbye.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right, keep your business healthy.